Hi, my name is Gwenn Aspen, and that's spelled Gwennaspen, and I'm testifying today as a concerned citizen and as a member of the Learn Coalition. Our coalition supports opening the door to high-quality charter schools in Nebraska, and we support the intent of LB 616. We believe that an amendment needs to be added so that KIPP and success in the charter schools that have a known track record of success desire to come to Nebraska. In Nebraska, only 5% of African American children, 6% of Native American children, and 10% of Hispanic children are meeting college readiness benchmarks as defined by the ACT. This is in comparison with 66% of Caucasian children. Charter schools have obliterated the achievement gap in many parts of the country. Take, for instance, Success Academy in New York, where the vast majority of attending students are children of color from low-income families. Success schools have actually reversed the achievement gap, where 94% of African American students, 96% of Hispanic students pass the math exam compared with 56% of white students citywide. The laws we have now make schools like this and others like them that actually improve the lives of poor and minority students not possible. People protecting the status quo use being poor and minority as an excuse for failure. This is antithetical to our rich history as impoverished pioneers coming to our great state and through education and hard work realizing their dreams. At no point did the pioneers just accept poverty as their lot in life. But this is what we do when we deny poor and minority children an education that can reverse the trajectory of their lives. Why have we accepted the status quo and not allowed charter schools in our state despite the data? It's been too politically difficult, I think. We've had 6 hours of testimony last year, a bus full of people come last year, a bus full of people come this year, a bunch of people testifying this year. People want charter schools. Today I ask you to pass an amended version of LB 616 because poor and minority children have intrinsic value, can learn despite poverty, and are worth fighting for.
Thank you, Ms. Aspen. Any questions for her? Senator. Mrs. Aspen, you brought that number last week, that only 5% of African American compared to 66%. I just don't believe that black people are that much stupider than white people. And that's what it really sounds like as somebody who is black and has lived in Northeast Omaha her whole life.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I know. And to your point about using poverty as an excuse, I haven't heard anybody on this committee or in this legislature offer that as an excuse, or the color of their skin as an excuse for inability to learn. And that is unfortunately what I heard from your testimony. People point at the access to education. Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly. It is a factor. But there are plenty of commitments that the people of Nebraska and the people of Omaha have made to Northeast Omaha in terms of institutionalized racism, redlining, discriminatory employment practices. I could go on and on that have contributed to the situation that we see in Northeast Omaha. So I welcome you to the conversation. It sounds to my ear, as a legislator, as a resident of Northeast Omaha, just a tiny bit patronizing. So it's not really a question. I apologize.
Well, can I respond?
It's not really a question.
But I really feel like I need to respond to that, because that's quite an accusation that you're saying that I was saying that black people are stupider.
That's obviously what the stat sounds like.
Well, that's not what I meant at all, because you can see when they have charter schools, that achievement gap is reversed. It's reversed. And so there's no reason except for the schooling that the kids are getting that they should be achieving less. If you look at this sheet here, Druid Hill Elementary School only shows 25% proficiency in math, 15% proficiency in science. We know those kids can do better. And it's not the kids' fault. Something is wrong with the education system, and that's the results we're getting. It's not the kids' fault.
I do not believe that only 5% of the students graduating from the public school district, whether it's the Omaha Public School District or any public school district, if they are African American, that number is, that disparity is that wide.
Well, I didn't make the number up. It's from the Education Quest Foundation.
Yeah, and I read that. And statistics, we all know the quotation about statistics.
Senator Groney.
Is that number parochial and public schools or just public schools?
The number for it's a statewide number.
Thank you. That's all.
Any other questions for Ms. Aspen? Senator Pansy Brooks.
I just thank you for coming and talking today. I was interested because do you know that we're ranked 49th in school funding statewide in the United States? Nebraska is ranked 49th in state funding. So I'm wondering if you've ever contemplated coming forward to advocate for more state funding to be able to pay for education so that everybody will have options and chances to succeed. Certainly if we're ranked one of the lowest school-funded school systems in the country, that has to affect something. So instead of necessarily just creating a new opportunity for some, why is there not more of a push to get to the legislators and to get to all the people across the state to provide more funding for education, which is our number one priority and constitutional duty here?
Sure. Well, funding is important, and that's why I testified last week about the $5.4 million that's going to busing through the learning community that isn't actually impacting the achievement gap, which is important for me that we fix. So I think we could allocate that money better. But funding, we know that that these schools, these charter schools, which are having amazing results, actually are being funded less than the schools. And we know schools like Kansas City schools had the most funding, or Detroit schools have been funded way more than our schools and have failed miserably. So funding, it's really about practices that change the educational trajectory. I wouldn't say money has no impact, but it's the way we're administering education and the actual instruction going on in the room that really makes the difference for kids.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mrs. Aspen, to your mind, if every single school educating an African-American child in Northeast Omaha or across the state were a charter school, the achievement gap would be eliminated. That's your arithmetic.
I believe that these charter schools that have a record of success, like KIPP, you can look at that sheet of paper of all the successes that these schools have had. Some of them have 100% of the students going to college. And I know that it's a choice, but it is really changing the game, and I think we deserve it here in the state.
So, Ms. Aspen, how do kids get to a charter school?
How do they get to a school?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since they're going to be right in the neighborhood where kids live.
They show up at the door and they get in?
You mean how do they get accepted? You could do a lottery. They're looking at neighborhood schools just turning into charter schools. That's a new model that's happening.
So not everybody would necessarily get into a charter school.
Well, not everybody. When nonprofits help people, they can't help every single person in a community. They only can help the certain people.
Has to, right?
Well, public schools are great for a lot of kids, and they work for kids. When public schools aren't working for kids, charter schools are there to help those kids. If your kid is doing well in a school, then you're not going to be apt to change them. It's a kid that's struggling in their current situation where you're going to want an alternative.
But in spite of that, there is no guarantee that those struggling kids will get to a charter school. Is that correct?
Well, unless we open more than the 5 in the bill. We could open up more if that's what people want, if that's what the parents are asking for.
Thank you. Senator Groney.
I don't care if you're green or purple. I'd like to have one in North Platte. and we have very successful young black people there. It doesn't make a difference what your race are. I just believe in charter schools. I get tired of black versus white. But anyway.
Okay. Well, I do too, Senator Groney.
Did you know that when the 49% is state funding for students, it's not funding for students? When you throw in our property taxes, we're not 49th. Just to let you know that, so you don't leave here with a misconception about how we fund our schools. But anyway, would you consider sending your child to charter school if you had one?
I would absolutely send my kid to a charter school. You bet I would.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Aspen? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.